Hey guys, what is up? RabidRetrospectGames bringing you a top 10 list. Today we're going to go over the top 10 worst games of 2015. 2015 did have a lot of good games, but it also had its fair share of duds. The footage you're seeing right now is the honorable 11th mention, but with that said, let's get right into it. Now, keep in mind, I am limited to what I have played, so if there's a game you think should be on this list, there's a really good chance that I actually haven't played it yet. I don't have time to play every single Unity game that releases on Steam. So with that said, let's get started with the list. Number 10, Devil's Third. I actually feel bad for Wii U exclusive owners. It's a pretty great system, but if you want mature games and your library is rather limited because the Wii U doesn't get your Witchers, Call of Duties, Assassin's Creeds, Fallouts, and whatnot, no, you get Devil's Third. And I actually went to buy a physical copy of this game, but apparently it's rarer than Panzer Dragoon Saga, so if you're wanting to try this game yourself, you're going to have to get it digitally like me. And unfortunately, that rarity doesn't equate to quality. Now, I'd heard that this game was being ignored by Nintendo itself, which is kind of suspect because it's a Wii U exclusive, but after playing it, I can see why this game is being ignored. This game barely passes as a launch title for the Xbox 360, let alone the Wii U, which is supposed to be in the same market as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's very bland in almost every aspect and regard from what I have personally played. Melee combat is decent at the absolute best, and shooting is beyond bland and uninteresting. Visually, it compares to a last-gen game. Story is just, yeah, but that's personal opinion there. I don't know. It only gets the number 10 spot because I already expected this game to be pretty bad as it was, and I can't stay too mad at something for telling me beforehand that it was going to be pretty bad. So the number 10 spot goes to Devil's Third. Number 9, Need for Speed 2015. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some sort of racing connoisseur, but I will say I get the bug to play a racing game every now and then, and this year I took the gamble with Need for Speed and found myself severely let down, even without any expectations. Now, perhaps more seasoned racing fans can enlighten me, but I had zero fun playing this game. The challenges you have to do seemingly consisted of drifting non-stop, in which you would frequently have to restart because your fellow racers would either be too far ahead or too far behind for your points to count, or they would just ram into you, forcing a restart anyway. The races themselves felt like the AI would just rubber band into the lead if you didn't have an absolutely perfect run. I still don't see the point of it being online exclusive. There was hardly any cops or fun things like that to outrun and outmaneuver. I actually only encountered cops 3 or 4 times during my whole playthrough of a Need for Speed game, and the story was just... Please don't make me talk about the story. I really don't mind small-scale stories. I don't. I love small-scale personal stories about people interacting with other people. That's great. I love those type of stories. But at least make it interesting if you're going to have it. I don't know. Maybe some of you all enjoyed this game. I could see this being one of the few controversial games to put on this list. But I just couldn't find any enjoyment out of this game. So for me, personally, the number 9 spot gets taken by Need for Speed 2015. Number 8, Rothschild, The Sheep Will Wake. This game was so laughable that I've barely put an hour in and feel fairly confident including it on a list of the worst games of 2015. I really don't need to list the faults of this game. It's clear why it's on the list. Just look at the footage. The footage makes it clear why it's on here. I will say that this game had me quit and give up in record time. I've played some bad games before, but this game just broke me in under an hour, and that's pretty impressive. The fact that Steam allows games like this to be released and charge actual money will never cease to amaze me. Early access or not, these types of games shouldn't be allowed to be sold to the general public, at least for any money. This game is just ugly, pure and simple. There's no redeeming qualities about it. There's nothing redeeming about this game. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't have been released. Rothschild, The Sheep Will Wake earns the number 8 spot. Number 7, Overlord, Fellowship of Evil. The first of what will be a few entries on this list that take a well-known or somewhat known IP with some name recognition and make a new game that completely misses the point and spirit of the main games, and then has the audacity to not even be a good game. Now, I did try to give this game a chance because I actually enjoy the world of Overlord. It was a weird hacking slashy RPG with an almost RTS twist thrown in and felt like a grim fairy tale. What's not to like? And this game is a thing. It's not balanced if you're going to be playing solo, which you're going to have to do because the community for this game is non-existent. It's not that fun. The minions are just kind of there. It looks kind of bland, and it just misses the point of the originals. Now, that's not to say spin-offs are automatically bad, or games that change their styles. I've enjoyed games like DMC, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons to various degrees. A spin-off or change in gameplay style doesn't mean that a game has to automatically be bad. But that is not the case here. I could only stomach about 3 hours of this game before I called it quits. This game completely misses the point. It misses the spirit of the original series and doesn't even make a good game out of the IP it's wearing. Overlord Fellowship of Evil gets the number 7 spot on the worst games of 2015. Number 6, Taken. I heard whispers about this game, notably from Jim Sterling, but even then it didn't prepare me for just how worthless this game is. I feel kind of at a loss for words. These, quote, horror games that keep turning up on Steam and other distribution platforms keep astonishing me in how horrible they are. It's almost like video games are finally emulating those direct-to-DVD horror films that you'd see in the discount bin at Best Buy or clogging up your Netflix recommendations. I don't know what I can say about this game. It's not scary, it's ugly, the music is terrible, it's confusing. It's a thing that exists and costs money, actual money that you would work to obtain. It costs that, and I just don't know. I mean, just look at it. I don't have the necessary vocabulary to describe how bad this game is. I believe at this point in time it's only 99 cents, and I almost want people to spend that to see how bad this game is. But I think that would make me a bad person. I don't know. I don't know. Had I spent more significant time with this game, then it might be higher on the list. But all these games here are pretty terrible as it is, so I really don't know what I can say about this game. It's just horrible. It's horrible. It's horrifyingly horrible. Maybe that was what they were going for. It's horrifyingly horrible. I don't know what to say about this particular game. I'm at a loss for words. Taken gets the number 6 spot for worst game of 2015. Number 5, Project Knight. I almost left this game off the list because it's so easy to pick on these smaller games, especially the smaller Unity games or things like that. It really is, but I feel that if you're going to charge money for your game, then you should probably put some more effort into your games before charging money for them. Project Knight was a horrible horror game. Visually unappealing, confusing world design that looked like it was made from the scooped-up vomit of Silent Hill with a story that was just horrifically bad. Oddly enough, it was the only thing horrifying about this game. And enemies that look like they want to die on the inside. I mean, look at the footage. What more do you want from me? As probably one of the few people to play this game to completion, I really don't have any kind words about the game itself. And I actually do feel really bad about picking on this game, and I about left it off because it doesn't exist anymore. As of recording of this video, to even witness this monstrosity of a game, you're going to have to watch gameplay of other people because it has been removed from Steam and is no longer available from purchase. Still, when I played it back at the beginning of the year, it was one of the worst games I'd played in a very long time. And that still stands to this day. Project Knight, number 5 on the list of worst games of the year for 2015. Number 4, The Order 1886. This is one of those games that just rubs me the wrong way. And don't think that this game is going on here just because of its short length. I love short games. No, this game is going on the list for being completely lackluster in almost every significant regard, and for what it represents. This is one of those games that exists as a teaser for a potential game down the road, and it really doesn't care about the game it's releasing right now. Just the game we may get down the road. The Order 1886 right now is blatantly lacking any significant content to make it replayable to make up for its short length, has a story that exists solely to set up another story without itself containing any sort of meaningful narrative, and is just mediocre at best in almost every other aspect. That and it's just forgettable, which to me is worse than being just flat out bad. At least a bad game can be a talking point. This game is bad in the way that you forget that you wasted 5 hours of your life playing it. Nobody has really talked about this game since its release, and there's a reason why. I mean, can any of you remember anything of note from this game other than its length? Boss fights? Combats? Guess it's pretty. For me, it's just not worth talking about anymore. I'll probably go back to forgetting that this game even exists after making this list, but for now it earns the number 4 spot of worst games of 2015. Number 3, Alone in the Dark, Illumination. Talk about dredging up an IP for some quick cash. At this point, I think everyone is aware that Atari and its brands are just shells of what they once were, and aren't really worth any serious consideration nowadays. Still, a game trying to siphon off a gamer's nostalgia for a franchise that once was a benchmark in survival horror and turning it into a cooperative third-person shooter is still worth mentioning. Alone in the Dark has mostly been irrelevant since the PlayStation 1 era, excluding the reboot that happened in 2008 or 2009. But this is still just a shameful game without much to offer. It's a poor third-person shooter, trying to be Left 4 Dead, and completely misses the point of what Alone in the Dark once was. I only spent a few hours with this game, and I feel completely and totally ripped off. There's nothing here. Even ignoring the IP, it's not even a fun shooter, and feels like an early access title. And if you don't believe me, go buy the game, play it for 20 minutes, then go back and get your refund on Steam because you'll see that it's just broken and sad and a worthless game. Worthless game trying to leech off an IP that once had meaning. Everything you've heard about this game is true, and it's my number 3 for worst game of the year. Number 2, Raven's Cry. Believe it or not, this is a game I had my eye on for quite a while. Every now and then when I would check the upcoming releases on either Steam or Wikipedia, I always ran into this game, but there wasn't too much info on it other than it existed and its release kept getting pushed back. When it finally did arrive, it turned out to be exactly just what I was expecting. This is not a good game in any sense of the word. The story is rubbish, the gameplay is uninteresting at best and broke at worst, it's full of bugs, terrible voice acting, and it's just all around sloppy. You are much better off buying Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because this is just a poor attempt at a swashbuckling game if I've ever seen one. I disliked this game so much that I let out an audible sigh of relief when I found that I actually saved footage of this game from earlier this year and didn't have to re-download and play it again. Now, I have heard since the time of the release of the original game that they did release an updated version called Vendetta Curse of the Raven's Cry, I do believe. You can't even find the original version on Steam anymore, and I do hope this new version is better for those that are interested in trying this game out, but I wouldn't hold my breath, and I personally don't feel like spending any more time with this series than I already have. Raven's Cry earns the runner-up for worst game of 2015. This game right here, to me, is not just awful because of the quality of the game itself, but what it represents. The dishonor of Worst Game of the Year of 2015 in my list goes to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. Similar to Alone in the Dark, Illumination, and Overlord Fellowship of Evil, except on a grander scale, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 represents some of the worst aspects of video games. The type of slapped-together game made to cash in on nostalgia with such a lack of respect towards the legacy of the franchise that it supposedly continues, that it's easy to see how gamers can become completely jaded to the medium. Spending any significant time with this game makes it abhorrently apparent that zero meaningful work went into this game, with its bare-bones content, lackluster visuals, bugs, and just being plain boring. It really is a shame that games like this exist because they do nothing but breed contempt for a really enjoyable medium of entertainment. I really feel bad for diehard Tony Hawk fans because I know this isn't the game they wanted the Pro Skater series to go out on. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 earns my dishonorable award of Worst Game of 2015.